Today, we're putting science fiction itself under the microscope. We're going to ask a really big question. How much science does a great sci-fi story actually need? So let's just dive right in. In Star Wars, when the Death Star blows up, you get this massive, epic explosion sound. But wait, in the vacuum of space, there is no sound. So is that a mistake, or is it a deliberate choice? That's the exact tension we're going to unpack today. We'll look at that balance between science and fiction, dig into the difference between hard and soft sci-fi, do a deep dive on Black Mirror, and finally, uncover the golden rules that all great stories live by. So here's the central question, right? Is sticking to the laws of physics a cage that limits your imagination? Or can those very same rules be the wings that let a story truly fly? Let's start by looking at a genre that basically makes science its main character. All right, first up, let's go to one end of the spectrum, hard science fiction. This is where the science isn't just window dressing, it is the star of the whole show. In hard sci-fi, the plot is completely driven by scientific accuracy. The challenges the characters face and the solutions they come up with have to be grounded in real-world physics, chemistry, engineering, you name it. The science itself literally becomes the engine of the story. I mean, just think about The Martian. Mark Watney's entire struggle to survive is just one massive, complex science problem after another. He needs chemistry just to create water, botany to grow food, and orbital mechanics to even have a prayer of getting home. The tension doesn't come from some scary monster, it comes from the math. A single miscalculation and he's gone. It's that simple. And that's what makes hard sci-fi so satisfying, It gives you this deep intellectual reward. It leaves you with this feeling of plausible reality, that sense that, yeah, given the right circumstances, this could actually happen. Okay, but what if the nuts and bolts of the science aren't the point? Let's jump all the way to the other end of the spectrum into the world of soft and speculative sci-fi. Soft sci-fi, you see, takes a totally different path. It's not about how the spaceship works. It introduces some kind of big technological or scientific idea, and then it focuses completely on the human and societal fallout. The technology is just a catalyst for exploring who we are. Just look at these two fantastic examples. In Dune, we never get a chemical breakdown of the spice. And who cares, right? What matters is how this single resource shapes entire empires, religions, and galactic politics. Or think about Arrival. That movie isn't trying to teach you alien physics. It's this deep, fascinating dive into linguistics that asks, what if a language could literally rewire how you perceive time itself? So, while hard sci-fi is asking, could this happen? Soft sci-fi asks a much deeper, more philosophical question. If this happened, what would it change about us? This chart just lays out the different goals of these two genres perfectly. Hard sci-fi uses science as a problem-solving tool, always asking, how does it work? Soft sci-fi uses science as a stage for a thought experiment, always asking, so what? What does this change? But it's not always so black and white. What happens when a story kind of mixes these ideas together? That brings us to our perfect case study, Black Mirror, a show that builds this fascinating bridge between the two genres we've just talked about. In so many Black Mirror episodes, the technology is what filmmakers call a MacGuffin. It's really just a device to get the story started. In The Entire History of You, we don't get a lecture about the grain memory implant's battery life or its data storage. That's not the point. The point is watching how perfect recall can absolutely destroy a relationship with pure jealousy and suspicion. And this idea really captures what the show is all about. Black Mirror pretty much argues that technology itself isn't good or evil. The real enemy is the darker side of human nature. The tech is just a magnifying glass that brings it all into focus. It blows up our insecurities, our vanity, our cruelty. This shows the fundamental difference in the conflict. In The Martian, the antagonist is external and physical. It's the deadly environment of Mars. The solution is math. In Black Mirror, the antagonist is internal and psychological. It's human nature itself. And a lot of the time, there's no easy solution at all. So whether a story is hard, soft, or a hybrid, it turns out that all great science fiction still follows a few key universal rules. And this brings us to what might be the most important rule of all. Internal consistency is more important than scientific accuracy. We accept the sound of explosions in Star Wars because it's a choice that's applied consistently. We'll forgive almost any lie a story tells us as long as it doesn't suddenly break its own rules just to write itself out of a corner. So really, we can boil everything we've talked about down to 5 vital lessons. 1. limitations actually fuel creativity. 2, internal consistency is absolute. You can't break your own rules. 3, the technology has to be a mirror reflecting something about humanity. 4, emotion always comes before a technical explanation. And 5, good science should leave you feeling curious. Because at the end of the day, an audience connects with characters, not with concepts. We don't care about an equation unless that equation is the difference between a character living and dying. The science has to serve the emotional heart of the story, not the other way around. And that leaves us with a final thought. Just think about that beloved Black Mirror episode, San Junipero. If that beautiful, heart-wrenching story paused for a 20-minute technical lecture on its server architecture, would it have had the same power? In the end, it's that perfect balance between the known and the imagined that makes these stories truly unforgettable.